My name is Harold. I'm 86 years old. I've been told my voice still sounds steady. I don't feel steady. I wasn't planning to record this. I'm sitting alone, and the house is quiet in a way it only gets at night.
I feel thin, like time has worn me down to the parts that can't pretend anymore. People think you reach old age with clarity, like one day everything lines up and makes sense. That hasn't been my experience. What happens instead is memory starts knocking when you least expect it. Not the big moments, the small ones, the ones you ignored because you thought they'd come back around. I spent most of my life being useful. That's what I told myself, anyway. I worked, I showed up, I did what was expected. I learned how to fit into rooms without taking up too much space. Somewhere along the way, that became my whole identity. Not who I was, just who I was acceptable as. I didn't notice it happening. No one ever does. I grew up in a house where quiet meant survival. You learned early when to speak and when not to. I was good at learning patterns, good at reading moods, good at becoming whatever kept things calm. Teachers liked me. Employers trusted me. People said I was dependable. No one ever asked me what I wanted, and I never offered. I married young. She was kind, truly kind, and I loved her in the way a careful man loves, without risk, without depth that might disrupt the balance. We built a life that looked correct from the outside. A house, routine, shared responsibilities. At night, we slept beside each other like two people respecting a boundary no one ever discussed. I told myself that was maturity. There's a moment I return to often now. It happens in the kitchen. She's standing at the sink, back to me. There's sunlight on the counter, dust in the air. She says something ordinary. I don't even remember what. I remember what I felt instead. A tightening, a sense that something was being asked of me that I didn't know how to give. I said nothing. That moment passed. So did many like it. At the time, it felt harmless. Later, it felt permanent. I was good at postponing things. Conversations, feelings, decisions that required me to choose myself over stability. There was always tomorrow, always another year, always a sense that life would slow down eventually and make room for me. It doesn't. Life doesn't pause so you can catch up to yourself. By the time I was in my 40s, people thought they knew me. I let them. I was the reliable one, the quiet one, the man who never caused trouble. Inside, there was a restlessness I didn't have language for. I thought it was fatigue or ingratitude. I didn't understand that it was grief, for a version of myself I'd never met. My wife died before we ever talked about any of this, an illness that moved faster than either of us expected. In the hospital room, I held her hand and told her all the things that were safe to say. Thank you, I'll be okay. You don't have to worry. I didn't tell her the truth that was sitting in my chest, heavy and late, that I didn't know who I was without the roles we'd built, that I was afraid I'd spent my life being careful instead of honest. She squeezed my hand once before she fell asleep. I don't know what that meant. I think about that squeeze more than I think about her last breath. After she was gone, people expected me to change, to grieve loudly, to fall apart. Instead, I just continued. The routine stayed. The silence deepened. Without anyone needing me to be a certain way, I finally noticed how empty that shape was. It wasn't a single realization. It never is. It was small embarrassments, moments when someone asked me what I enjoyed, and my mind went blank. It was standing in front of a mirror one morning and realizing I had no idea who I'd been trying to impress all those years. It was recognizing my own handwriting in old letters and not remembering the man who wrote them. I learned who I was too late, not in words, in absence. I learned it in the things I never pursued because they felt impractical. In the friendships I kept shallow because depth felt dangerous. In the way I confused being needed with being known. The hardest part isn't regret, it's clarity. Seeing the pattern clearly when there's no time left to change it. I'm going to pause here. My throat feels tight and the room feels smaller than it did a few minutes ago. If you're still listening, thank you for staying. When you live long enough, you start to recognize the sound of your own avoidance. It has a rhythm. Mine sounded like responsibility, like reason, like telling myself there would be time later to sort things out. Later is a strange word. It feels generous. It isn't. After my wife died, I was alone in a way I hadn't prepared for. Not lonely, alone. No one left to mirror me. No one left to confirm the version of myself I'd been maintaining. That's when the questions started showing up. Not loudly, softly, at inconvenient times, standing in line at the grocery store, waking up at 4 a.m, hearing laughter outside my window that had nothing to do with me. Who was I really when no one needed me to behave? I didn't have an answer. There were things I once loved. I know that now because I found evidence of them. An old notebook with sketches, margins filled with half-formed thoughts, a ticket stub from a place I never went back to. I couldn't remember why I stopped. I think I assumed those parts of me were temporary, childish, inconvenient. I thought seriousness was the same thing as maturity. It isn't. People tell you that identity is something you build, that it's shaped by effort. I think sometimes it's something you abandon, one small compromise at a time. No one moment felt like betrayal. That's how it happens. You don't notice what you've lost until the space it occupied starts echoing. That's when the questions started showing up, not loudly, softly, at inconvenient times, standing in line at the grocery store, waking up at 4 a.m, hearing laughter outside my window that had nothing to do with me. Who was I really, when no one needed me to behave? I didn't have an answer. There were things I once loved. I know that now because I found evidence of them. An old notebook with sketches, margins filled with half-formed thoughts, a ticket stub from a place I never went back to. I couldn't remember why I stopped. I think I assumed those parts of me were temporary, childish, inconvenient. I thought seriousness was the same thing as maturity. It isn't. People tell you that identity is something you build, that it's shaped by effort. I think sometimes it's something you abandon, one small compromise at a time. No one moment felt like betrayal. That's how it happens. You don't notice what you've lost until the space it occupied starts echoing. Time does something cruel near the end. It sharpens memory but dulls opportunity. You remember clearly, and you act. Not at all. If there's one truth that stays with me now, it's this. A life can look complete and still feel unfinished. That's a quiet kind of grief, one you carry without witnesses. I don't know who this recording is for. Maybe no one. Maybe just the room. But if you're listening, and something here feels familiar, you don't have to do anything with it. Just notice it. That's enough. I'm going to turn this off now. The night is settling in, and I feel tired. tired in a deep way. If you